Welcome to Vintage Tech 1. I'm your host here, Wesley, at Vintage Tech 1, and it's good to see all of you. So my thoughts on typewriters. I've been looking on the typewriter groups. I've been trying to find a historically accurate Underwood 5 in a functional condition, and it turns out I may have found one that's dysfunctional but partially functional. Now my thoughts, though, are this. The prices of typewriters over the time has gone up, and some of it is just silly. A computer doesn't even cost. A computer price is almost as equal to a typewriter at some prices for the cheapest of typewriters and the cheapest of computers. Now it depends on the rarity of a machine. An Underwood 5 is a bit bulky machine. It's a commonplace one. From my understanding, my own knowledge, I could be wrong though, but my understanding is it's just a commonplace piece. It doesn't really have, it's not rare. Let me put this back just a little bit. Sorry, let me fix you. Now, if I were to do a Corona 3 typewriter, it's just the name of the machine, don't worry, it's not a virus. It's the name of a machine. A Smith Corona typewriter number 3, I love those. They're the folding ones. I forget the name sometimes, but those I could see paying a little more because they are more compact and portable. Typewriters I purchased mostly only come to like $5 or $10. That was years ago. So a typewriter of $30, $40, okay. It's in pristine condition. I personally, depending on what it is, if I really wanted it, I probably pay $50 for a typewriter. Yeah, you do that. But if it's a typewriter that's rusted up and looks like a bunch of heap of metal, I am not paying $100, not $50. I pay you maybe $20 at the most if I know how to fix it, have parts for it, or one of those needed parts. So I would do that. I would. I purchase typewriters. I just see them. Rummage sale, yard sale thing. Oh, that's pretty cool. I stay away from the electrics. 1980s, 70s, 60 Smith Corona Galaxy 12. Now, I love that machine. I used to have one. I gave it to a friend of mine, just sort of a friend, in school. And they used it. To me, it had a very distinct smell because it was owned by tobacco user, so I could not take the smell of it. It smelled so embedded in the foam and everything. While the foam is what they would use for quieting the machine. I just could not take that. So I was happy it was gone. I was sad it was gone. I wish I would have kept it because I could have realized, oh, I can replace all the felt and foam. But I learned that years later. So sometimes there's things that you gain, and sometimes there's things that you lose. And there's experiences every time working with a typewriter. And typewriter groups are fantastic. The Austin Typewriter Group in Austin, Texas, they have a Facebook page, Austin Typewriter Inc. Now, they are wonderful to ask questions with. It's an open community, very good. You have typewriter repairmen, repair ladies. Well, let me put that way. Let me reword it. We have typewriter repair people that are on the group. They are very helpful, wonderful people. You have some people that are 16. You have some people who are 85. You have some people that are like 13 years old. They're working on typewriters. They're learning from experience of just working with it, correcting it. If they need help, they ask for help from the older, how do you call it? If you're new, I know for farming, new would be a greenhorn. Because you just get your horns, as a farmer, but they're like you're getting your hands in there, you're new, and then you got the I guess masters, or you got the veterans. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. You got the veteran typewriter repair people, and they are wonderful to help with each other and everyone else. My thoughts on typewriter pricing is just it's a bit kooky. Yeah, for some prices, it's like, no. Some people go as far as key chopping. Gasp! I die again. Ooh, and come back. Hunt them all. No, I'm just kidding. Some machines are too far gone that, yes, you can use parts of it for jewelry. Some people use it and turn it into art. They make something new out of it. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just some people get a little edgy, some get a little testy on the, they're like, oh my goodness, you just chopped up a Valentine typewriter, or that's a Royal KMM, or something. And like, if it's a really rare one, I understand. If it's like the first one, there is some people that do happen to have the first models of some things, and those are like the coveted treasures. Some people don't even know what it is. It's You ask somebody what a typewriter is, they may know, they may not know. They may know it from a famous movie. They may have never seen a typewriter. It's like seeing a box camera. How many of you ever seen a box camera? Well, a Brownie camera, you look at it, you're like, I think it's a camera. Okay. Yeah, there was so many mass-produced cameras, those little boxes. So some, like typewriters, they're massively produced. There are some that are rare. If you happen to have a bad one and you cut the keys off and use it for jewelry, okay, that's fine. I don't really personally like the idea, but I do have seen some cufflinks made. There are reproduction keys, the round ones I'm talking about mostly, and people use those for their arts and crafts, which is fantastic. I've seen some where they took a typewriter and they made a lamp, and I looked at the typewriter and I was like, oh my goodness, it's such beautiful, and why in the world did you turn this into a lamp? Ooh, but I didn't say it to the artist, no. I let it be, because it is not mine. I do not own it. It is theirs. They do what they wish with it. And if I wish to buy it and turn it back into a typewriter, functional, then let it be. I do that probably, depending on the machine. But it was a lovely thing to see, and even though it was chopped up, not chopped up, but turned into a lamp. So that's my thoughts on typewriters. I think if you're unsure of where to get materials to fix your typewriter, or had any questions, I'd say the Austin Typewriter Group is fantastic to go and look at and get some information. I've purchased some things from, actually, I purchased a bunch of typewriter reels, spools. Those are the things, the ribbon ink, that when the keys go up, going ding, they hit that, the ink transfers to the paper. I bought some spools from a member on there. I forgot their name. Darn. I do remember the one person I did purchase ink from, and that was from Lucas Dole of Chicago Typewriter Ink. And is that right? Chicago Typewriter Ink, yeah. And the fantastic. Lucas sells I think it's nylon, cotton, and I forget what the other one is. But there's two that I know of that he does sell those ribbons. There's other people. There's Typewriter Muse, which has a wonderful, cool thing. Okay, so if you happen to be in LA near the Rose Bowl, he's not always there, so look up Typewriter Muse. That's Typewriter MUSE on Instagram, and I think they have a Facebook as well as a website. But they travel in a converted, like a teardrop-ish trailer, and it's fantastic. It's converted to be a functional shop and a showroom type of thing. Because if something's not major, I think you could get something like, looked at least over there, wherever location they may be, because they travel across up and down California, and it's quite amazing. I wanted so badly to go see that, and the I can think of another one. It's Berkeley Typewriter Repair. Now, he used to have two shops, and he only has one now. One of them closed. I think it was California Typewriter? I want to say it was that one, but I could be wrong. It is 2022, by the way, and it's April 11th. So I'm not quite sure exactly the updated version of his shop. Oops, I think I got some wood dust in my eye. Oof, dusty wood. Wood benches, you just don't get them anymore. No, you still do. So typewriters, they're wonderful little machines. You can just display them. You can hang them on the wall a certain way, of course. You don't mess up anything underneath. And I just love using them. In fact, a local museum has one, and I um, I looked it over a few times. Actually, there was a rummage sale. They used to have a thing called the Granny's Attic. That's where people brought donated things to the museum, and they had a KMH. It was a 1940s Royal or something. It was one of those really tall, not super tall, but about right there. And it needed some work. Honestly, that thing was. Ugh. Those keys didn't want to strike right. Um, the ribbon was decent, so I left that. Or did I put a new ribbon? I think I actually bought. Yes, I bought a calculator ribbon at the time because I didn't know where to buy ribbon ink. I had no idea. I was just still starting off as a little baby tadpole in the world of typewriters, and that was a long little project. I think it took a couple of days. It wasn't really long, but I got it to move the key strikes because they were just seized up from grease and oil. And at the time, I didn't know, don't use WD-40. And something said, don't use it because it's going to smell. Now remember, we had 3-in-1 machine oil. I thought, okay, I'll scrub this with a toothbrush, a dry toothbrush, get all the gunk off I can. Then I'm going to use that oil and just, I went mad tapping it. I was like, and I think I left the old spool on with the old ribbons. And I think at the end it might have looked like Swiss cheese or that somebody attacked it and chewed it. Because I was just like, okay, this key's working, these keys rows working, this row's working. It was a madhouse. Oof. But it was fun. It was a fun thing. And I put the calculator ribbon on there. I undid the spool and put it on. Nowadays, I learn wear rubber gloves because that way you don't have to scrub and have like 2 days worth of ink staying on your fingers. So I went back to, I think I wasn't working at the time, but I was going to school, and it was hilarious. It was like, oh my gosh, my hands are dark. They look like, I don't know, it looked like I just stuck my fingers in an ink thing. And I was thinking, looks like one of those police crime things. But I had scrubbed it all off, and I used a cleaner and stuff. It was funny. It was funny. But that worked out fine. That I've over the years I've worked on it was a Smith Corona Electra, 110 and 210. I have a manual, I think, somewheres, and I can't remember. I let my friend borrow my one Electra typewriter because it was working functionally perfectly, except for the cover on the right for the ribbon spool goes on. It just pops up. So what I did is our old hardware store around these parts. I went in and I looked for, I asked you about typewriter springs. They said, no, we don't have any. We do have springs, small ones like ballpoint pens. And luckily they did. I had to manipulate it to stretch it just a bit to get the right tension, cut it, work it, and then I had to do a lot of adjusting because their key wasn't working properly. And what it was is the spring come off, and then I tried to put it back on, and it just didn't go on right. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. The spring's too small, too delicate. It's old. I'm just gonna fabricate a new one. Let me work on the tension. And then, the linkage came off. I had the sync linkage. It's like a letter C, and it links the type bar to the type key, and it's to activate it. And I was like, oh my word, what in the world is going on here? The parts were falling off. I replaced that using. I had a thick wire gauge that fit perfectly. So it's like we use the tie fences. It's flexible, it was stiff enough, and I had to manipulate it. Putting it on, pulling it, testing the typewriter was plug it in, turn it on, type, see what the tension was on the hand for the hand, and then turn it off, unplug it, back and forth, because you don't want to play around in electric machines unless you know what you're doing. Safe. So I was being safe, turning off and unplugging it. That was something else. And I think it was a belt that was sort of loose because, over time the rubber belts, just like in a car, they stretch. It's like a timing belt, really, but it ran the gears on the typewriter, this one, and I was a little off, so I looked and I thought, I could do one of two things. One, I could try to shrink it, which is not suggested because it's already old. It still has a lot of elasticity, it's just stretched a little bit. So I thought, I'll just move the wheel just a little bit further, because this one, for some reason, it had a little bit of giveaway, so you can tighten it up, which was really nice. So that's what I did. So I moved it a little bit, tightened it up, tested it, let it sit, tested it again. I think I kept it for about a week's time, because I wanted to make sure I had all the materials. And meanwhile, my friends borrowing the typewriter, and they love it. They love it. And I get their typewriter in the working order. I have them in the house. We're like, okay, can you try this? Is this feel correct? The tension. So do. That's good. Oh, that's a little tense. Okay, that's that. No, that's good. Okay, good. That was it. What did I do? Oh yeah, I went, and for that one, because I hadn't ordered anything for a while on ink, and it was just like, get it to run, but I felt bad that their ink was good, but it was like, it's going south. So I cleaned all the keys, the type slugs with the letters and numbers on it, and I got them some calculator ribbon because that's all I could find. It was all black because that's what the machine specifically just used, black. It didn't use two colors, or it did, but I mean, you just switch from using black, and then when that gets light, just switch to using red, and it should be fine. So that worked out pretty nicely. I was really happy with how that turned out for my friend and his friend. Oh, lots of noise outside. Those are fun. And then oh my goodness, that little Smith Corona typewriter, the little Skywriter. You've seen it in my video, probably, or previous videos. That one is it was something for quite some time. On adventures, I'd take it to the libraries, the park, that is. I wouldn't use it in the library. I'd take it for events, historical events. I'd take it with me just to type at school. Took it to college for a little bit, just a few times, just as a stress reliever, pretty much because of tension of college. So I'm lugging this little small thing. It's fantastic. It fits in my computer case. Sorry, my computer carry bag. So if I didn't have to really do anything and I was just going to head home, I was like, okay, today I'm just bringing that because I'm going to write my story and I'm relaxing. And that worked out perfect. It did start wearing down on the sensitivity, though. I think it was just getting out of alignment from being jostled a bit. So I take it apart, put it together, adjust, take it apart, put it together, adjust. Some things here and there. Most of the case just kept on sliding. So I got smart and I got some metal washers, like ring washers. And I put those metal washers, little itty bitty ones, on where the body meets, the carriage meets. There's two screws in the back near the platen, I mean. And that's where the carriage goes back and forth. That thing in the back of the paper, you put it through. And for that, I had to put, I just put one on each side. I had put plastic ones in, but they sort of ended up breaking because I kept on adjusting the tie, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is losing its tension. And the plastic was getting old. And the metal ones, they've held very nicely. I do have like two little dents on the bottom where you can see where the screws been. But I didn't modify the screws. They were the screws that came with it. So I don't know. I guess maybe it had a rubber grommet instead of a washer. And I'm like, no, it has not slid. It has not moved. It is perfect. I didn't put any Loctite on it. At least I don't think so. No, I didn't. I wanted to glue it, but I didn't. Because I'm like, if I'm going to glue it, most likely I'll never be able to open it again. And I'll be really mad at myself. And that lovely little typewriter sits there in my room. Just sitting there for now. It's lovely to take. But if I have to be honest, I like my Royal Quiet Deluxe a little bit better when writing letters, because I could push the thing in on the platen, and then just roll it a little bit up to get right to the lines. Which reminds me, I need to go and mail some letters later. So my thoughts on typewriters, they're awesome, they're great. If you can get one for cheap, get it. Just look out for certain things when you type, does the carriage move back and forth? Because when you type, it should go a little bit at a time. Sometimes what happens is, I had this with my Royal Quiet Deluxe, is the tabular or the margin markers, which are on the back, they bend a bit and they don't grab as much. So sometimes that happens. I had one with a whole entire margin row on the back was like a little off. That was an electric one. I think it was a Smith Corona Electra or Electric. It has a weird ribbon distribution thing that looks like a little packet, and it goes out and then goes back in. Those are discontinued, but you may be able to make it if you just are careful with the existing old one, if you have an old one. And there's videos from Phoenix Typewriter and places and YouTube channels like that. And they can help a lot. All right. And I can go on and on, but that's it. How are you, retro, wonderful. All right. You wonderful retro adventurers. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. This is just my thoughts for now, and that is all. Bye.